class, which means you're going to be here a while. Come on, people, that's good material. But seriously, you are going to be here a while. The information that I want to provide is a little bit of contextual information. This is an amazingly heated topic. There is no right or wrong or easy, quick fix answer to this. But it is important to understand the history of our own country. A country which my daughter reminded me tonight as she quoted something from her planner from a public school in Colorado Springs. And the planner had a quote that said, "This country, everybody loves this country. Why does the love have to stop at the border?" So I'm going to give you a quick, and I mean quick, rundown of some immigration history of our country. 1492. I told you were going to be here a while. Get comfortable. Obviously, we all know that 1492 is a pivotal year when Columbus discovered America. That's what all of our kids learned, and we know that folks came over here because of religious persecution. In 1565, Spain established St. Augustine in Florida. In 1582, Roanoke Colony was the first English colony to be established. I'll get faster, don't worry. 1600 to 1700, we have the French establishing colonies in Canada. Jamestown is the first permanent colony that's established. Traffic of African Americans or Africans at this time and slavery was put into practice and was well established. The Dutch established New Amsterdam, which has now become New York City, and the first Jewish immigrants started to show up not too long after the Spanish Inquisition. In 1660, a significant piece of information is important to note that England stopped their immigration policy. They said, we are no longer sending immigrants over. But the Dutch ceded their colonies to the Brits, and the Germans started to settle in Pennsylvania. Between 17 and 1800, the English established penal colonies, not just abroad, but also here. The Scotch, the Irish, and the French came over. In 1717, British started to prohibit skilled immigrants. They didn't want their skilled immigrants to come here anymore because they were losing them all. And it was also the establishment of the first Native American non-immigrant to this country reservations. We have the Naturalization Act of 1790, which naturalized every citizen here if you were white. In 1795, the naturalization extended to folks who, if they had been here 5 years and were white, they could establish residency. But during that time, we also had the forced relocation of Native Americans. Again, the only non-immigrants here. We had the first reporting of immigration in this country between 1795 and 1800. We had sedition, an Alien Act surrounding the French and the Irish, the Indian Removal Act, which removed Indians from their property and their land. The Irish potato famine took place, and there was a rush for the West during the Gold Rush. During 1850 to 1950, there were forced relocation of natives. The Asian world literally came in droves to work in our mines and on our railroads. Not women, mind you, because we didn't want them to reproduce while they were here. The Dred Scott Act went into effect where everyone could be declared a citizen unless they were black. Actually, the Dred Scott was that no blacks could be citizens, even if they had been here more generations than I had. The Civil Rights Act said that everybody had the right to civil rights, except Native Americans, and of course blacks because they were non-citizens. Italy, Russia, Jews, Japanese laborers, quotas came into effect, exclusion. We had the beginning of the INS. We had Operation Wetback that went into effect during the early 20th century, which was a mass deportation of Mexicans. Between 1950 and 2000, Mexican, Latin America all came up because of political and religious persecution. We had the sanctuary movement. Vietnamese came from all over because of persecution in their own country. Since 1994, we've had Operation Gatekeeper, we've had Operation Return to Sender, and of course we've had the beginning of Immigration Custom Enforcement, ICE. This is an amazingly, and you know what, just so you know, I've touched 25% of the acts that actually have been in effect since 1492, because I really didn't want to bore you that much. This has been an issue forever. Do you know what the biggest migration that's going on right now is? Does anybody have any idea? It's the birds that are migrating in Louisiana. And we don't have a problem with that migration, because those birds migrate in order to lay eggs, in order to find hatchery and places that are safe for their children, so that they can then go, so that they can then go home again. Regardless, please hear me, because this is the crux of this conversation. Regardless of our political standing, regardless of where we stand, we can probably trade quote for quote biblical scriptural quotes that will fight both sides of this issue. Regardless of where we stand on this issue, the one thing, two things that we have to remember: migration is a natural occurrence. All politics, all nationalism, everything else aside, migration is a natural occurrence. It is. Period. The end. From Exodus to now. Number two, do you feel how hot it is in here? Does anybody feel how hot it is in here? Imagine being in Colorado Springs on an August day at noon, none of this beautiful breeze, 90 degrees, no humidity, because we all know it's a hot heat and not a wet heat, standing out there for 3 hours, just for fun. Why would you do that? The pivotal question that we have to ask, regardless of where we stand on this issue, is why would anybody in their right mind migrate to a country across a hot desert in ridiculous conditions when they're going to be rejected when they get here? So regardless of where you stand, I ask you to tuck that in the back of your head. And now I will pass the podium to our next speaker.